worked on national gun violence prevention advocacy at the Center for American Progress. He is actually from Tehama County, where yesterday's shooting happened. So, Nicholas, I mean, this really hit very, very close to home for you.
Hi, MichaeLA. Thanks for having me on. I think I just really want to share that for this shooting, I used to work in the gun violence prevention space for about 2 years, doing national advocacy around this issue. But yesterday, I was sitting in my office here in Washington, D.C., and my coworker said there was another mass shooting. And I said, where at? And she said, California. And I said, where in California? Which is, where I'm from. And she said Red Bluff, which is what reports at the time were saying. They were saying Red Bluff. And, I've worked with thousands of young people who have been touched personally by gun violence, whose lives have been ripped apart, and my heart has been broken over and over again. But, when you hear your town is where the shooting was, it really, it causes you to really just choke up for a moment. And so the first thing I did was pick up the phone, tried to call my parents, and luckily got through to my dad. Got through to my mom for a little bit later. Unfortunately, they were both okay. But I think with a shooting like this, really what we're reminded is that gun violence is a problem in America. And gun violence happens every day. And it's really unfortunate that it takes a shooting like this, where literally our children are not safe, to remind us that gun violence is an issue. Yet, Congress is doing nothing. My Congressman, Doug LaMalfa, hasn't issued a statement. He hasn't tweeted about the incident. I don't understand why, we keep having these shootings, yet Congress continues to do nothing again and again and again. It shouldn't have to take a situation like mine, getting a news alert, realizing my hometown had experienced a mass shooting, to make us wake up and do something about it.
But so I have so many questions for you. So let's talk about the part that you and I and every dang person in the country is reeling from, is that we are still trying to understand what happened in Sutherland Springs, and we're still recovering from the carnage that we witnessed in Vegas, and the list goes on and on and on. You were there in D.C. You spent 3 years in D.C. politics and in advocacy and working on this very issue. You probably have a better sense of why nothing is happening than maybe we do, because I hear the same frustration that you just voiced in every person I talk to. What can you glean from your time there?
There are a couple things that really stand out here. One, my hometown Congressman Doug LaMalfa has received over $6,000 from the National Rifle Association, has received a 93% score by them. And I think it really just shows you that even though these shootings happen, even now in this congressman's home district, there are really powerful interest groups at play that are trying to prevent Congress from taking action. And I think, two, I just want to say, a shooting like this really just reminds us that gun violence is an issue in America, and every single day, 90 Americans are shot. Yeah. Thousands and thousands are killed every single year. Yet, because of the involvement of the gun lobby, we see us not even being able to gather research on the causes of gun violence. We're not even able to pass common sense laws that should be bipartisan, even when this is happening all the time. And I think, one thing I really want to hammer home here is that this morning, President Trump tweeted about the shooting in Texas last week, sending his condolences. He later deleted that tweet. The point that I want to make is that these shootings, these mass shootings, are happening every single week. Daily gun violence is happening all across America. And we have elected officials like President Trump and like Doug LaMalfa who are not taking this issue seriously. And I think that is just so heartbreaking, and it really just breaks my heart for all the folks in my home community who are impacted.
Yeah, and I feel for you, love. When these things hit our hometown, it feels so personal. We're known around the world as a country of mass shooting, and that's not something I don't think anybody's proud of. let me ask you, there are going to be people that are gun advocates will say it's not the guns that kill people, it's people that kill people. There is a component of this that is the question of guns getting into the hands of wrong people. We have a mental health crisis going on in our nation as well, right? And it seems to me that the two paired together are an explosive and dangerous combination.
You know, I'm glad you raised that, MichaeLA. I think really the issue here is twofold. One, we need to make sure that guns don't fall into the wrong hands, and I think that should be not a political issue. That should be something that we all agree upon, that guns should not get into the wrong hands, period. Number two, and I think this is something that is really important to not just talk about mass shootings, but to talk about the daily sort of gun violence, those 90 gun deaths that happen every single day, which is that we're not focusing on the root causes of violence. You know, why does someone pick up a gun to begin with? Why does someone feel like they need a gun to protect themselves? Why does someone feel like they need to have a gun for their business if they're working in maybe the black market and like dealing drugs, things that are not regulated? I think it's because we're not investing in the communities that are the most impacted by gun violence on a daily basis, and that has sort of manifested in this public health crisis that we now have.
Well, Nicholas, you know, this is weighing heavily on the conscience of so many Americans right now, and I'm sad to meet you this way because I know what a hole this has left in your heart when it hits your community. As I said before, it feels intensely personal. I send you my best. We all do. Thank you for joining us and having this conversation. We're going to keep it going here on our network. I appreciate it.